Hi there, it's David Lee here for the James Bond Dossier, and once again I've got the Spy Commander himself, Bill Koenig. And how are you today, Bill?
I'm doing pretty good, David. In fact, I think today I'm officially vaccinated because it was 2 weeks ago I got my second shot. So,
Oh wow, that's quite something. You've actually disappeared off the screen for me.
I'm looking at the screen. I see a little tiny screen of me and a big screen of you.
Okay, uh, don't quite know what's happened there.
My camera light's on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. Right. Today, we wanted to talk about the reports in the British tabloids that the No Time to Die was going to have a huge premiere. They're talking about a £10 million budget for the premiere, and they are talking about having it at Wembley Stadium. And so uh, we'll get into that in a little while. But was there anything that you wanted to talk about before we did that? We've had a couple of recent deaths, and do you want to cover those? Because
Yeah, let's do the passings first. Which one do you want to do first?
well, the first one were in chronological order was Paul Ritter, and there was also Helen McCrory.
McCrory, yeah, right.
And both of them were at a tragically young age, which is I think 54 and 52, which these days is nothing. So
No, not at all. And in fact, the Oscars, was this past Sunday, and one of the kind of controversial segments is in memoriam, mostly because people get annoyed when someone they like gets left off.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I noticed they did manage to squeeze in Helen McCrory, but I don't think they got Ritter. I don't recall them getting Ritter. Yeah, that boy, and it was one of those things. I mean, maybe I don't follow the gossip pages that close enough. I don't recall even any talk that either was sick or anything.
No, 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 no. But
And
I mean, he had a fairly minor role in Quantum of Solace. Just in case anybody doesn't know who he was, he
well, right, he was Guy Haynes,
he, he was Guy
and
Haynes, who was kind of central to the plot, but without really having
that
much.
much of an impact.
Yeah.
Although they supposedly filmed a scene that didn't make the cut, didn't make the movie. Of now, I've seen it. Was it Mr. White killed him, or I forget in the unused edited.
Oh, okay. I can't remember what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget either. If they had included that, his he might have had a bigger impact in the movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was there basically to show that then it was Quantum had tentacles that extended into the senior levels of the government.
Yeah, for me that's one of the parts of Quantum of Solace that actually really worked quite well. The fact that the British government was infiltrated, and of course in Spectre they went in the same vein, I suppose, with having a C working for Spectre.
Yeah, and he of course was in that opera scene, and which I thought was actually one of the better parts of the movie. I mean, it's one of those things. If you think about it, it doesn't work, but dramatically within the movie, I thought it worked well. It was also finally the scene where, for me, Daniel Craig's Bond finally seemed to be like using his head and
Mm.
actually thinking things through for a bit, and actually doing a little detective work and actually noticing something, and then turning the tables on the quantum people. And for that reason, I thought it was one of the better scenes in the movie, because up till then he seemed to be kind of out of control. And I get it, he had a rage, but at some point, it's like, guy, get control of yourself.
Yeah,
so
that whole sequence was very good, I thought. Yes, too. And the other person who had also a fairly minor part this time in Skyfall was Helen McCrory, and she'd apparently been keeping her illness quiet, and she'd been suffering from cancer for some time, and it was so it came as a bit of a shock when her husband announced it on social media.
Right, and of course in Skyfall, she was essentially Judi Dench's foil in that Parliament committee hearing sequence. She was kind of going after M with sort of tersely worded questions and so forth, and it was an effective performance. Again, it wasn't a huge role, but in fact, now I think about it, when her casting was announced, there was some thought her role might be more significant than that, because they had kept a fairly tight lid on who was being cast. I mean, that was during the phase when they were denying that Ben Whishaw had been, cast as Q, even though his agent had said he was. So, like with Helen McCrory, there was some speculation: is she Moneypenny, or she's someone else that has a significant thing. As it turned out, no, she was basically setting Judi Dench up to read the poem in that sequence.
Right, but Bill, I've just seen the comments and people can't hear me.
Oh no!
Oh yes.
Can they hear me, but they can't see me?
Yeah.
Well, we're betting. Oh no! So how should we handle this?
Okay,
do you need to?
I can switch to a different mic.
Okay.
Let me see.
Have patience, everyone. We're David's fixing his sound problem. Meanwhile, you can look at Helen McCrory for an extra minute or two. But we have to pass the time until David.
Can you hear me, Bill?
I can hear you. Oh, I can hear you even more than I could before.
Okay. Let's hope everybody else can then. I'm trying to stop. Right. Okay. What's happening?
Can everyone hear David out there in the, if you can indicate it in the comments.
Okay, it's sounding better now. Okay, right. Thanks, Tim. Sorry about that, everybody. God.
Just so you know, I let David monitor the comments because the one time I tried to monitor them as well, then there was a difference in the sound and it was really a mess. So I leave the monitoring of the comments to David. So
yeah, I find it really difficult to actually monitor the comments and talk though. So I'm definitely not a multitasker there. Okay. So, okay. I'm not sure. Right, where have we got to? Had we finished?
I think we're wrapped up with the obituaries.
Okay.
And then just one real quick thing. Of course, like I mentioned beginning, of course, the Oscars had their in memoriam as part of that show, and Helen McCrory did make it. So did Diana Rigg, who didn't make the BAFTA comments because because in the BAFTA movie show they said, "Oh, she's a TV actress." The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences apparently disagreed and put her in their show, and of course Connery was very prominent. He was the next to last, and there were several Bond alumni. We don't have to go through them all, but because it's been written about a lot, since Sunday, so I don't think we have to hash them all over. The main thing I know some Bond fans were upset about was that Honor Blackman didn't make it. And, it's one of those things. I think, yeah, I've said this before. I think the general public takes the in memoriam segment more seriously than the Academy does, because the Academy drops in addition to all these famous actors everybody knows, they drop in, oh, here's this publicist, oh, here's this agent. And it's like, they don't mean anything to the general public, but they're like Hollywood insiders. They're probably active or were active in the Academy, whatever. But, you know, I mean, my guess is there's a little bit of kind of office politics, if you will, that go into that segment. And but the general public doesn't care. They just get pissed off when one of their favorites doesn't make it.
Yeah, I've never really bothered too much with the Oscars, to be honest. I mean, I guess it's partly because it's the time of day just kind of doesn't really suit us in Europe. But you know, it's just, you know, it's interesting to hear who's won something and so on. But I've never watched the ceremony ever, and so it's, in fact, it's all these award ceremonies. I'm not that bothered, you know. If I like stuff, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't, and that's the only award that needs to be awarded.
Well, I think actually an increasing number of people are you know, share your point, because the Oscars had like record low ratings. They were down like 58% from last year, which was a record then. And so, and it went below 10 million viewers for the first time. They used to have this preposterous claim, oh, 1 billion people around the world are watching this. Like, how?
Yeah.
It's like, they're certainly not watching it live. You know, it's like, but if you're counting everybody who like watches a clip on TV, I still can't imagine it's 1 billion people. So they eventually kind of stopped doing that. I always found that annoying, but anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I just found out that my light had gone out as well for some reason. Let me turn it up a bit. See if it'll stay on.
Now, can I double check something? Am I on the screen? Because again, I'm just on my screen. I'm just a little tiny thing in the corner.
Yeah. Well, I can see you, but I don't know what other people can see.
Okay, that's fine. We'll soldier on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. And before we get into the big topic, though, there's something else I wanted to cover, and I'm reading a book at the moment, which I should say I'm rereading a book at the moment, which is this one. And I'm sure many people will have this. It's James Bond, The Man in His World, the official companion to Ian Fleming's creation. And it goes into depth into Bond from the books, and a bit about Ian Fleming and, you know, where he got his ideas from. But there's one bit, and I remember when I read it the first time, it kind of startled me, and this time again. And let me just find it, and I'll share it with you if I can. Where's it gone? Is it this one? No, it's not that one. That was going to be later. So let's stop that. Probably I'm about to share the same one again. Am I? No, dear. No. Yeah. Don't ever think that I know what I'm doing. No, again, God. What's it called? I will get this right eventually, maybe. All right, it should be this one. Yes. Okay. All right. This is a bit from the book, and it says, you know, Fleming never wore shoes with laces. Yeah, we know that. And always wore short-sleeve shirts because he couldn't stand dirty cuffs, buttons, or studs. Friends remarked how odd it was to see such a well-dressed man wearing a suit without any shirt sleeves visible underneath. Bond shared these sartorial foibles, unusual in an otherwise conventional conservative dresser. Okay, right. This is the bit that really gets me. When color did enter the wardrobe, it was with wild abandon. In Jamaica, Bond shares his creator's taste for bright, bold beach shirts made by Antonio's in Falmouth. And it's, what? I have never seen a photo of Ian Fleming in a colourful shirt. He's always wearing navy, pretty much, and Bond doesn't wear colourful shirts when he's in Jamaica. He always wears navy as well. So I don't understand where this has come from. I've checked the books. There's no mention of Antonio's in the books as far as I can see.
Yeah, well, and there's a fairly famous interview that he did toward the end of his life. I don't know exactly what he's wearing, and in the interview, the film, the visuals are in black and white, so it's hard to tell for sure, but it looks like navy blue. It's like he's got some kind of almost like a jumpsuit. I'm not sure that's what it is, but I remember he makes the clips I've seen include a comment about, well, Bond likes some of the things I like short sleeve shirts and scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
But like the wildest I can recall Bond dressing on a kind of semi-formal basis was early in the novel Thunderball. It's when he meets Domino again in the novel. Mm-hmm. He's like wearing a suit, but he's wearing sandals. It's kind of it's. That's
right.
But that's it's hot there, so I could see wearing sandals. Plus, he's wearing a suit, so it's like he's pretty well dressed. So
yeah.
I don't recall him wearing like a pink shirt or anything.
No, or a Hawaiian shirt, a la Pierce Brosnan, die another day, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
an odd reference. I don't have that particular book, and now I'm beginning to think I'm not sure how well researched it is. Maybe I'll take a pass on it.
No. Yeah, I mean the rest of it is really solid. It's a really, really good book. It's just that I think there are two things that I spotted in it. One of them was that, and the other was that it references Bond's DB5 in Goldfinger, and it was a DB Mark III. So, but the rest of it's solid.
Yeah, and I was saying again about Fleming himself. So there's that one book. It was by John Cork, and forgive me, Bruce, if I'm mangling your last name, Bruce Savali. Mm-hmm. They had worked on those documentaries on the home video releases, and they put this big coffee table type book, and there's this pretty nice photo of Ian Fleming. He's like on the beach, and there's like this knife kind of it's like stuck in the sand, and he's reaching for the knife. But that's like a light colored shirt. I mean, it's a black and white photo, so you can't tell for sure, but it looks like a plain white shirt to me, and dark slacks. And he's wearing slacks on the beach. It's like most people don't bother with slacks on the beach.
Yeah, but you could not describe anything that I've ever seen Ian Fleming wearing as having color with wild abandon.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, again, it doesn't that doesn't necessarily have to be a Hawaiian shirt, but it implies something trending in that direction. I'm wearing a purple shirt with I have no idea. That's a weird reference.
Yeah, it is. Okay, right. We've got that out of the way. So, and unless there's anything else that you want to talk about, Bill, then maybe we get on to the big topic of the day.
Let's get to the main topic, because there's something I saw briefly last night that kind of pertains to this, but it well, you go ahead and describe it. There are these reports from the tabloids.
Yeah, I think was it in the Mirror actually. I don't remember who reported it first, but
the way I recall it, but they all tend to feed off each other, so it's like you almost have to do a detailed autopsy to figure out who actually started it. As I recall,
an audit trail of where the story came from.
Yeah, there was a story that it was like it was in the Sun, but it wasn't even like a full-fledged story. It was like it was like one item in a column of items, and it wasn't even the lead item. It was like midway through. And then the Daily Mail jumped on it, essentially did a summary of what was in the Sun. But then they like turned it into a complete story, like piling on every bit of background they could do to make the story as long as they could get away with. So I'd have to go back and see for sure. So, it's the thing with the tabloids, it's almost like this continuous, the unvirtuous circle, if you will, where they all just like, if somebody gets it first and then the others rewrite it, and then they like toss in little bits that they can claim as their own. And but anyway, it started with one of those guys, to put it that way.
Yeah. So I mean, the story is basically this, that Eon and MGM, I guess it's probably mainly Eon because they tend to do the marketing, I believe, are talking about a big budget. 10 million pounds is the figure being bandied around by the tabloids,
right? Which is almost $14 million, at least based on the conversion rate when I saw the story.
And they're considering having the premiere at Wembley Stadium. I think that there are a couple of things about this. One is, I think a lot of people have the attitude that, okay, it's in one of the tabloids, so it's obviously not true. But that, as the tabloids have shown again and again, is a bit too much of an easy dismissal, because very often even though the story lacks, the story in its entirety may lack, what's the word I'm looking for? I just had a brain freeze. The story may lack credibility when it's taken as a whole, but there is a kernel of truth in it, and I think this is an example of that, because I can easily see that they would want to really push No Time to Die when it comes out. And the thing about Wembley Stadium, though, I mean, I've got some other thoughts about that. So what do you think, Bill?
Well, I took a look, and the way I read it, this is plausible. Not necessarily the Wembley part, but something like this struck me as plausible in this sense. Like you said, Eon, at least Eon says, they do all the marketing. The studios just execute it. And that was Michael G. Wilson in 2015. Go to YouTube and plug in Michael Wilson, Hollywood Masters. You'll get two videos, and one of them is like talking. One of them is about marketing. He says
the brainwashing's working, because I took that in.
Michael Wilson says, well, we really do all the marketing. The studios just execute it. Anyway, and Eon is nothing if not traditional when it comes to marketing. And so if you look at the history of Bond premieres, it starts in this theater, and then gradually over a number of years it goes to a bigger theater, and then I don't know how many theaters they eventually get to. And then it's like, it's like, we got to go bigger. And so then they go to the Royal Albert Hall, and which is not an ideal venue for watching a movie, but that's not really what it's there for. I mean, that's not what they're hoping to get out of it. They're hoping to get a lot of publicity for the film, with stars of the movie going in on the red carpet and all that stuff. So in a sense, this strikes me as plausible. It's like, we haven't had a movie in 6 years. We got to do something. We got to go bigger. So it's like, let's go to Wembley Stadium or some other outdoor venue like that. And again, here in the States, there are cases. This just happened last night. So the National Football League, we're talking about American football, they're having the NFL draft, and no other sport can essentially hiring help become a television program, but that's what we've got. And so, and the format is the worst team. The team that finished worst the previous season gets to go first. So in Jacksonville, Florida, which had the worst team, they actually, they knew who they were going to get. They've got the first pick, and nobody could get there, get the guy before him. So they turned it into essentially a big party for the fans, and they held it at the stadium. They play games. There's a giant screen. They're basically piping in what's being shown on the sports channels, to the 6,000 people in attendance. So could this happen? Yeah. And I also, the way I read it, I kind of wondered if there was an element of it being a trial balloon, like maybe a publicist for Eon kind of fed it to them. And just to get publicity, just to get publicity about it. And then they could sort of gauge, well, that's not going over well, or, oh, people think this is great, we should go for it. I mean, but I'm not familiar with London, and we were talking before we went live. There are some problems with Wembley, right?
Yeah, well, Wembley's not exactly central London. It's North London. It's I mean, you can get to it on the tube, but I guess if you come out from outside London, you can drive there. But it's not really that convenient. Although well, they have all the it's where they have big soccer matches, as you call it, and rugby and so on. And they've got the Wembley Arena next door as well, where you have a lot of concerts as well. But I was about to say, and the NFL plays 3 games a year there, or at least they did before the pandemic. Because they're trying to expand into Europe, and so they play games at Wembley. Not on again 3 games out of a 256 game schedule, but they do it. So yeah, it's for Americans. That's probably Americans who don't follow global football. Those NFL games are probably the thing they know Wembley for. Yeah. Hey, well, whenever I've tried to watch American football, I just can't. I have no idea what's going on.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
At least that's what the NFL is among the English. I mean, I mean, honest to God, there's actually, the NFL would love to put a team in London full time. Well, it's just a 5-hour flight. Yeah, a 5-hour flight to the East Coast, but you also have to play teams in the Central, Mountain, and Western zones. That's a pretty long haul.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I remember in the 1980s, I guess it was early 1980s, and they started showing American football on British TV for the first time, and I think it was the Dallas Cowboys played, and I think it was at Wembley Stadium they played then, but that was the old Wembley Stadium. They knocked it all down a few years ago and built a brand new one. So,
oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
yeah. Well, at least I think they did. This has all happened since I've been living in Spain, so that's what I understand. Yeah, but
anyway, but just some of what I was saying. So I think it to do that, it's essentially the same old Eon marketing. Just let's go bigger yet again. It's like particularly you're trying to jumpstart thing after this long hiatus between films. Anyway,
I've just seen a comment. It's the Sun and Daily Mail, the 2 worst UK tabloids imaginable. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think
none of us disagree. I mean, the Sun was involved with hacking people, right?
I don't remember. I don't remember which papers were involved with hacking. I'm a bit remote from it, but.
The Rupert Murdoch papers were, and Murdoch was forced to close the News of the World because the scandal had gotten so hot.
Of course, yeah.
And so they closed it down, and then the Sun, its sister publication, started a Sunday paper to sort of take up the slack. So that's it. I know it mostly because Rupert Murdoch is not the most respected media figure in the United States, because he's got the New York Post, which is as close to a British tabloid as you're going to find in the U.S. And he had actually owned the Chicago Sun-Times for a period in the 80s, and he was despised in Chicago. And when he got out and sold it off, there was much rejoicing in Chicago. So
yeah. But the budget. What do you think of the budget? Do you reckon that figure's right?
Boy, now that's the level of detail. I'm thinking, boy, that's a lot of money. And it's like, do you charge that against the film? I think you'd have to. And it's like you've got a film that's like approaching $300 million. And we know that from the UK regulatory filings. It was like almost 290 million, like middle of last year. Like God knows what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it could be in fact $10 million, or it could be just a large figure, and they've just plucked 10 million out of thin air.
Right. I mean, that's the kind of thing the tabloids do. They like you said, in a lot of cases, there's a kernel of truth, but then they like hype things up. I mean, here's just
embellish it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like here's one quick small example. So going back to Skyfall, the Sun had this story: James Bond will have a beard in Skyfall. First time it's ever happened. Really? It's like, didn't he have a beard in Die Another Day? Well, it was like, it's first time it's like a real beard. Like that was a fake beard. And
Skyfall also the first time James Bond drank beer on screen.
Right, which wasn't true either. But anyway, and then it's like, well, he had a beard. Well, it's like, well, it's more than a 5 o'clock shadow, but I wouldn't really call it a beard. When you actually see it in the movie, I mean, talk about like getting, and even like, okay, Baz Bamigboy of the Daily Mail. Now he had a pretty good track record for a time on getting Bond scoops, but he had the occasional hiccup. Like he had a story that Albert Finney was going to be in Skyfall, which was true, but then he said he was going to be like this official in the British government. No, he was like, he was the guy out at Skyfall Manor. It was like, it was essentially what Baz was describing was Ralph Fiennes' character, who ends up being M at the end of the film. So even guys who appear to be well sourced, they sometimes fall on their face now and then. So the thing about the tabloids, I don't dismiss them. I don't take them at face value either. You really have to like read them carefully and you almost have to be like an archaeologist. Like, okay, what in this might be true, and what
you've definitely got to read between the lines.
Yeah.
But I mean, and just understand where they may have got the information from it, and what the information they based the story on may have been. It's you need to think a bit.
Well, and like I said, in this case, I would not be surprised if this was like some kind of trial balloon. So of course, none of these reports are attributed to anybody by name, which is that's par for the course. I get that. But part of me wonders is like, okay, did like the lead publicist for Eon kind of feed this to the tabloids, and let's see what reaction it gets. And then, and if it's favorable, well, maybe I should get the manager at Wembley on the phone. I mean, I would not be surprised if for No Time to Die's premiere, they go to a venue other than the Royal Albert Hall, and something bigger that they can like turn into a big, splashy, but still traditional event. But whether it's specifically Wembley, I remember I remember summarizing it, and I chose not to even mention Wembley, because as I recall, they didn't definitively say it was Wembley. They said it'd be a venue like Wembley. It's like, well, if you don't know for sure, it's like, if you're not sure, it's like, I'm not going to mention it. I mean, it was, I mean, it's been weeks since I first saw it, but I remember the Wembley language being just a little squishy. And and so if you're like writing a summary of a tabloid thing, it's squishy enough. It's like, so I mean, we'll see. Yeah, very squishy. It's like like trying to grab a jellyfish. It goes out of your hands, flying away.
Yeah. I accidentally previewed this earlier on, but I wanted to talk about what it's like to go to a premiere, and it's all very nice, and you get to see the stars as you walk the red carpet, and here's Daniel Craig being interviewed by David Williams, and so I took this photo at the Spectre premiere. Obviously, it says Spectre behind, and it's got the cars. And it was great to get up, fairly close to the two cars and so on. But right, that is the reality of the lead up to the premiere. It's a great experience to go through all that, and everybody's hyped up, everybody's really excited. You're just amongst a bunch of Bond fans, and everyone's just talking Bond, and in a way, if anywhere you go in London, they're just talking Bond when they put these things on. And right, let me see. Right, that's. I need to find the right window again. No, done that one. Right. I will now share the photo. I hope this is the right one. This was from my seat at the Spectre premiere, and you will probably agree that is non-optimal as a cinema experience.
No. And if for argument's sake, let's say they have No Time to Die premiere at Wembley, it's like you'd have this, doubled or tripled. It's like
I don't know how many people the Royal Albert Hall takes, but maybe 5,000. Wembley, I should have checked beforehand, but I've been to the stadium that I actually know best is Camp Nou in Barcelona, usually known in English as the Nou Camp. And let me share some photos of that. Okay, this takes 100,000 people. Okay, this is a fairly good seat, but this is prior to kickoff, and in the center they've got this Champions League ball thing, and there are people holding that up. You can hardly see them, and if you are up at the top of the stadium, you can barely make out which player is which. It's like watching ants on the field. So and I went to one concert there. I've been to watch the football, the soccer, numerous times years ago when I lived in Barcelona. But there is also where is it? Bruce Springsteen at Camp Nou, and this is probably not that bad a seat, but the stage there, they've got three video screens because you can't see anybody on the stage from this distance. It's crazy. You need to take binoculars. So if they're thinking about a stadium of this scale and putting a cinema screen in it, I just can't see how that is going to work. They'd have to probably have the cinema screen at the halfway, at the halfway mark, I would say, for anybody to get any idea of the film at all. But you may as well watch it on a small TV. It's I can't see how this would work at all, and I just I think it has to be a smaller venue than Wembley.
And that very well may be. Like the Wembley part might be in particular, if this indeed, is this trial balloon, the Wembley part might be the most trial balloonish part of the whole story. So that it's like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. It's like they decide to have it at an outdoor venue, but it's not Wembley.
Yeah.
I mean, Wembley is famous enough that a lot of people will recognize the name, even if they don't if they're like me and didn't know it's north of London, because we've all heard of it. Like I said, the National Football League has been having games there for a number of years now. So,
well, it's North London rather than north of London.
oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. I don't want to get any hate mail from Londoners.
Maybe I misspoke before.
No, you didn't misspoke. You didn't misspeak. Now that you said that, it's like, oh yeah, you did say North London. I apologize.
Yeah, but it depends on where you live in the UK, because I used to live north of London, but from anybody north of England, they considered that I lived in London. So it's
well, and if you want to go to a venue that big, it's really hard to go to the central area of any place. So, for example, if you wanted to do something like this in New York, you wouldn't be in New York City. You would probably be at Giant Stadium, which is in New Jersey, just over the river from Manhattan, but you wouldn't be in New York proper. Yeah, and I think one of those stories also mentioned the possibility of a U.S. premiere at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, which is considerably smaller. That's where the two National Basketball Association teams play, the Lakers and the Clippers. But I mean, that's like 15 to 20,000 people. And that's like, I can't imagine that would be, I mean, they could have a big screen for you to watch and you could probably like follow it, but like, it's not going to be as comfortable as like going to a actual movie theater with like an IMAX screen. And it certainly wouldn't be nearly as comfortable as watching it on your home set with a high definition TV.
Yeah. Well, but do you know, the day after the Spectre premiere, it was like 11:30 the next morning. I was in Leicester Square in an IMAX theater.
And how was that compared to Royal Albert
Hall? The seats are considerably more comfortable. The viewing experience was considerably more comfortable. It was a lot cheaper as well. Actually, now I think about it. Now I think it was 150 quid to go to the premiere. Maybe it may have been more or less. I don't remember exactly. And I think it was about £20 to see it in IMAX. But it was definitely worthwhile doing the follow up.
And I was about to say, if you had it at a venue that, for example, about less than an hour away from me is the University of Michigan's football stadium, and it seats over 100,000 people. And I would occasionally get the chance to buy a ticket, and I'd go. But I eventually stopped going because all the stands, you're standing on concrete, and like after a while, my back starts to hurt. Like it would have to be a really special game for me to want to get a ticket to actually watch it in person there anymore, because it's just, and plus it takes a long time to actually get in, find parking. Of course, London, you've got the tube. And so, you have alternatives to driving and finding parking, but still it's like, I can't imagine it's very comfortable to sit in Wembley or any other outdoor venue and like watch a movie. And what happens if it happens to rain that night?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how well covered the whole stadium is. I mean, it's in Britain, so probably it is. I know in Camp Nou, if it rains, you get really wet. I've been there when it's rained. It's been terrible. Everybody heads from the terraces to the back. In fact, I had tickets once for a Champions League match, and we'd been away for the weekend, and we just got back in time to basically dump our stuff at home, and then I think we walked up to the stadium because we were close enough in Barcelona. It was maybe a kilometer away, half a mile, and it was a grey sky, but we got to just probably about 100 meters from the stadium, and the heavens opened up. It absolutely poured down. So we ran through. We went through the turnstiles, and we were late, so the match had already started. But everybody who was in the stadium was coming out, and we couldn't get in because of the flow of bodies the other way.
When my daughter graduated from the University of Michigan, they had the commencement at the football stadium, and then President Obama was going to be the keynote speaker, the commencement speaker. So it's like, then there were all these regulations. You had to get in like hours before it started, and it was like dark, and it was raining that day, and it was like, it wasn't a fun time. And I mean, many thousands less than a University of Michigan football game, but it's like not an insignificant number of people, and it wasn't fun. I mean, again, this is why I think it's plausible. I mean, the whole point of a premiere really isn't to sit down and watch the movie. It's to be able to say you saw it first before anybody else did, and to see the stars walk the red carpet and all that. But
I'd like to see it as well. I'd like to have a decent cinematic experience, and I really would rather they didn't have it at the Royal Albert Hall. But Wembley definitely is not an improvement.
No, it doesn't sound like it. And again, based on what I've seen of these these outdoor things when they do something like that, I mean, essentially you're watching TV. The kinds of things I described. These sporting events, I mean, you're essentially watching a sporting event on TV in an outdoor stadium. And it's like, you don't, you do that for, you think it's fun. You don't really do it for the comfort and experience of actually watching the program.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, maybe there are some venues. There has to be a better venue in London, central London somewhere, that is better than the Royal Albert Hall. For me, the triple premiere for Casino Royale was the way to go. 3 different cinemas packed out with people, the whole of Leicester Square carpeted and with an Aston Martin in the centre for Casino Royale. I would do that. That for me, that was perfect.
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes back to what I was saying about sort of Eon's traditional marketing approach. It seems like when in doubt, go bigger. And again, based on what you described, having not been there, that sounds like more preferable. I mean, because you've split it among 3 venues, but at least there are 3 venues made for watching a movie, as opposed to like one big venue that's not made for watching a movie.
Yeah. No, it was great because I tagged along with the MI6 guys, and there was a sit down meal before it, and with drinks and so on, and afterwards it was drinks at the same venue in Leicester Square, and so it was fantastic. We just spent basically all afternoon with Bond fans, overlooking Leicester Square, seeing what was going on, doing the red carpet. In fact, it was multicolored carpet, because I think there was one red carpet, but they had a purple carpet to match Vesper's dress, and I think there was another colored carpet. And it was really, really well done. And I'd arrived a couple of days before and watched it all be set up, and they put it up in no time at all. I mean, couple of hours before it kicked off, it looked like they were not going to finish it, but yeah, it got done.
Well, if this is a trial balloon, I guess my reply would be, I think you better rethink this, or and I mean, I suppose there's like more daring digital kinds of things you could do, but I don't know what they would be. But I'm thinking, please rethink this. I mean, I kind of doubt I'll be able to go. I mean, I was going to try and go. I wasn't anticipating being able to go to the original 2020 premiere, but I wanted just to hang out with the Bond fans, and I was figuring it's like, plus some of the prices I was hearing what it was going to cost to get into Royal Albert Hall. It's like, I'm paying enough to get over there. But I think something like that, particularly as a way for Bond fans to to gather and to celebrate, because that's what it should be. I mean, yes, you want to publicize this movie, and it's the 25th movie in your series. Yeah, I get that. I get all that, but it's like, again, I wouldn't surprise me if this has indeed been seriously considered. I'm kind of hoping that for the benefit of people in London, that they maybe rethink and reconsider, but time will tell.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get over for a couple of reasons. One, that I won't be vaccinated by then, I don't think, at this rate. And well, the other is the others. Oh God, the others post Brexit makes life a bit difficult, and it's. I'm legally resident in Spain, but there have been issues with people with the documentation that I currently have. So unless I could update my documentation, then I'm not going to leave Spain.
Well, and also right now, I mean, and again, it's hard to tell what's going to be like, this fall at the time of the premiere, but like right now, there are some severe restrictions about traveling from country to country. I mean, the U.S. State Department has told, I mean, within the last 2 weeks, has told American citizens, like, rethink, the need for you to travel. And also, I mean, there are some regions, there are some serious issues, most prominently in India. And this has actually a personal connection to me, because my daughter's boyfriend lives there now.
Of course, yeah.
He his visa was expiring in March, and he had to go back, and he got a job over there, and he's doing okay. But I mean, you've read how serious the thing is in India right now.
India's in a shocking state at the moment. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, and then also, what was I was just listening to a news report today. Japan's kind of having a surge now, and they're supposed to do the Olympics in 100 days. And
yeah, right.
And they seem determined, hell or high water, to do it. But it's like, apparently there are like some opinion polls in Japan, and like Japanese citizens are saying, I'm not sure we really need this right now.
It's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah.
So I mean, I still think it's weird. I've been on a couple podcasts, but they were recorded at different times, so I've given different answers if you've listened to the two podcasts. One, I said, well, I think it's like 55%, but that was like in mid-March. And then there was one that was like earlier this month. I said, well, 51, 52. I kind of vary based on the daily news, particularly as it relates to the pandemic and stuff. I still think there's a better than 50% chance it will happen, because of vaccinations. It's like in the US it's decent, in the Europe not as decent. I'm sorry you haven't had a chance to get a vaccination yet, but I still think it'll happen. I think but at the same time, 51, 52%, if it were that's not the greatest odds. I mean, yeah, it's better than 50, but it's like not a sure thing at all. And
no, it's at the moment, if everything kind of remained as it is in the UK, then yes, it'll go ahead. The problem is, as the virus has shown so many times, that things can change very, very quickly, and you can think you're in control of it, and the virus has different ideas. So,
right,
yeah, like India is showing so well.
Yes, and as you said, Brexit is another complication. Brexit. Well, I don't want to get into political comments about Brexit. It's not my country, and it's not my, and I'm not the most, I consider myself reasonably well read about it, but, I'm not an expert by any means. But, it's like, I think it's fair to say Brexit hasn't quite delivered on the promises it was supposed to deliver. So, we'll see. But there have been indications that it's complicating travel between the UK and Europe, and whatever. But
I've just seen a comment. Why not? Oh, right. It's just, why not simply have the No Time to Die premiere at the London IMAX venue? I don't actually know what that is. But if there is a London IMAX venue, and I assume you know what you're talking about, Tim, yeah, I'm up for that. I don't know how many people it holds. That might be a limiting factor.
But again, going back to that Casino Royale thing, make it one of make it one of 3 or 4. It's like, oh, let's do bigger. Okay, we'll do it at 4 different theaters, and we'll make sure there's an IMAX or 2 among the 4. Yeah. I mean, that would make a lot of sense. So me saying that will ensure it won't happen, but because anytime I say something and make a suggestion, the opposite happens. Because at one point I said, yeah, you need a full-time Bond person to let Barbara Broccoli move up, engage in her other activities, and it's like, no, it's like they make sure they don't do that. So it's like,
yeah. It's because you're so influential that they just do the opposite of anything you say, Bill.
Yeah, although I have to say, after Michael G. Wilson's last appearance on the Bond and Banter podcast, he might be swearing off podcasts now. It was an interesting experience. So.
Okay.
I can guarantee you Barbara Broccoli will not be on that podcast or any other podcast. Any fan podcast, I should say. She'll go on the Hollywood Reporters podcast. But.
Yeah. You don't think that she'll ever grace us with her presence on this then?
I think I would be dead of a heart attack if she agreed. But,
oh God. Okay. Well, we're approaching the hour mark, which is where we aim to end things, mainly because that's all that I have on this account. So we've got a few more minutes that we can keep going. Let me just scan, see if we've got any questions, because I haven't been keeping much of an eye on the chat, but a bit of one. I was told off for calling football soccer.
But we ignorant Americans call it soccer. So yeah. Don't criticize David. He was just taking into account.
I'm only half British, so it doesn't matter. And let's see. Let me see if there's anything else. It would be insane to hold the Olympics the way that things are in Japan. Yep, absolutely. Late tuning in. Before you go on the hour, who do you think will be the Bond? I guess you mean the next Bond. No idea. Eon aren't even thinking about it at the moment. All they're thinking about is getting the next film, No Time to Die, on the big screen and the premiere. That's it.
Yeah, I on Facebook I saw someone make a comment on. In fact, I think it was on one of my on my Spy Command Facebook page, saying, "Well, hopefully Eon is developing a script for Bond 26 and it's like, no, I don't think so. I mean, I appreciate the desire. It would be great if they did, but I don't think so. I mean, until they know who the next Bond's going to be. I've been kind of telling it wasn't entirely serious, but it's like, well, under some circumstances, I could see that Daniel Craig might still come back after they do some kind of search, and then Barbara Broccoli decides, oh, no one goes Daniel, we must get him back. That, however, was before he got this sweet deal to do Knives Out sequels for Netflix. And he might get $100 million, and the director might get $100 million. Like, oh, it's like, Daniel, if that's remotely true, take it, Daniel. It's
if that's all true, then just imagine Barbara Broccoli will phone phone Daniel Craig up. She'll say, come on, Daniel, just one more. And the second word of his reply will be off.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I've got a roll. I don't damage my knees. I don't lose a tooth. I don't break a bone. Forget it. Sorry, Babs.
Okay, that is the hour, so we are going to get cut off. So thanks everybody for watching. Sorry for my microphone not working at the beginning, and yeah, if you don't already follow this channel, please do. You know what you need to do. Okay, right. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.